Testing 1, 2, 3. Welcome to my podcast. Hi guys, it's me again. I'm here to do part 2 of my life story because I did part 1 a few weeks ago and I have to finish it. I can't leave you guys hanging before I move on to a new subject, right? So I'm back in my bed. I think the last thing I kind of left off on last week, or not even last week, a couple weeks ago, was maybe around 2020, I would guess. I would guesstimate that would be the time. I had left Cimarelli, maybe 2021. I had moved to LA. That's kind of what I was talking about. And I was finding myself as an adult. And honestly, I'm still doing this. But I feel like in today's, episode, I want to tell you guys about the process, I guess, of me becoming an adult. Because I really, really feel like the way that my childhood was and the way that my life has been up until this point has made me into a not super whole person. Until I guess I moved out on my own and moved to LA. That didn't really make any sense. But my point is, until honestly last year, I feel like I wasn't a whole person. Like I was half a person or maybe even less than half a person. I didn't know who I was. I didn't really have a personality that felt like mine. I feel like I was putting on a bunch of different faces and being around a bunch of different people and changing myself constantly because I didn't have confidence in myself. And also because I was so close with my family and it was like so tight knit growing up and we just needed each other growing up, like being in the band and everything and being homeschooled and having 10 siblings and all that kind of stuff. Everything I told you guys about in the first episode. Because of all of that, I never really knew who I was. And I didn't need to know who I was because my identity was within all of these things like Cimarelli and my Catholic church and my siblings and being homeschooled and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like my identity was kind of stripped, not even kind of, my identity was 100% stripped away to nothing at the end of 2020, or 2019 maybe. And I spent 2 years trying to figure out who the hell I was. Like I watched videos of myself in 2020, I want to say, and I'm sorry, I'm just naming all these years, but I'm trying to keep it somewhat of a timeline. But I watched videos of myself like right after I left Cimarelli and right after I was figuring out, life for myself when I first got married. And my voice sounds different and I was dressing different. And you could just tell I lost a lot of the light in my eyes, if you could say that. It's kind of sad, but it's true. Like I didn't know what the hell was going on because it felt like everything I had ever known was just absolutely ripped away from me in an instant. And there was nothing I could do about it. Like I had to figure out who I was. I had to, discover my new identity. And that was that. So moving to LA in 2021, trying to have a timeline, I was very attached to Emin because I had been with him every single day of my life. We went through the pandemic together. Sorry, not every single day of my life. I had been with him every single day for the past 2 years at that point. And we had been through the pandemic together. We barely left the house together. We went through all that crazy shit that I talked about in the last episode together. And so I was kind of attached to him. And we moved into this house with some roommates. And I made a couple friends here and there, but like, it was kind of a weird phase in life now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm looking back on it, because I had just moved out of Tennessee and I had never lived in another state for my family ever. And I was getting adjusted to all these life changes and I feel like I was adjusted to them, but I was still leaning on Emin so heavily to like feel comfortable. So I didn't really need to be myself, if that makes sense. I didn't need to have a full life. Like I didn't need to have hobbies or anything that fills my time other than like my YouTube channel. That was kind of the only thing that I thought about besides Emin, if that makes sense. Cause I just didn't need to. Like I had him all the time. He didn't have a job. I didn't have to leave the house for anything. I didn't have to like do anything other than make YouTube videos. He was like doing his music a little bit more at the time, but I went with him to most things. I don't know. I just feel like my identity was in him at that point. And so things really started to shift. They really started to take shape, I guess you could say. I have to stop the video to tell you guys about the sponsor of today's video, which is actually a photo editing app called Lensa. You can go to the link in my description, use my link, and you'll get a free 7-day trial of Lensa. I wanted to see what I would look like as a cartoon using this app, and to be honest with you, I like this better than me in real life. It's just so cute. Like my eyes, are you kidding me? As you can see, it has a bunch of really awesome reviews because it's so cool. You can edit a lot of different types of photos in this. You can do pictures outside, inside, of you, of animals, of people, whatever you want to do. But my point is there are so many options in here. Like for example, I edited this picture that I took when I was driving through Cincinnati and I was just kind of like messing around, but like I change the entire sky, and it does it so quickly and so like intelligently. Like, I don't understand how it does it, to be honest with you, because I've edited photos in other photo editing apps where you have to take the sky out or remove the background or whatever, and it's super hard and takes a really long time to do it. But Lensa does it like so effortlessly, and it's really cool. So as you can see, I absolutely changed the hell out of this photo and made it really cool. And not only do they have coloring and filters and effects, but they also have background removal. You can change the background, do a bunch of different things. You can blur the background. They have some face retouching. They have borders. They have light leak. Like, seriously, there's like a million options in this app. So if you're at all interested in making your photos look cool, go to the link in my description, use my link, and you'll get a free 7-day trial of Lensa. And again, thank you to Lensa for sponsoring this video. Things really started to shift. They really started to take shape, I guess you could say, in early this year. I finally was forced to become independent when Emin kind of blew up career-wise. I made a video about this before, if anybody wants to watch like this full story, but Emin went from like a nothing little loser musician to like pretty popular. Obviously not like, he hasn't made it yet, but he had a TikTok that got super, super big. He got signed to a record label. He went on his first tour ever early this year. And I honestly like expected those things to happen. Like, I thought they would happen for him, but I didn't expect them to happen like so quickly and the time that it did happen. Like, it was just very unexpected. And so when it did happen, he left for months at a time. Like, he left from May to August pretty much. And I was forced to look at my life and be like, what am I doing? Like, who am I? You know, before, my whole life growing up, it was like, okay, my identity's in Cimorelli. My identity's in the Catholic Church. Like, all those things I said before. Then it was like, oh, my identity's in Emin. My identity is in my marriage, because like that's the only thing that's stable and that's the only thing keeping me afloat. So I'm just going to think about that. You know what I mean? And then Emin left. So it was like, okay, I'm not living near my family anymore. Emin is not here anymore. It's just me. It was like looking myself in a mirror and I could knock it out. It was like I was in a room full of mirrors and it was like, who the hell are you, Danny? Who are you and what are you going to do with your life? Because right now, all you're doing, I'm just going to continue talking to myself. Right now, all you're doing is making YouTube videos and then sitting around all day. And I wasn't even making that many YouTube videos. And I also wasn't very happy. Like, I was making 3 videos a week for almost a year straight, maybe 2 years. I'm not sure. Let's just say a year to be modest. But I feel like I was forcing myself to be happy as a YouTuber. Like, I was just convincing myself that I was really happy doing YouTube all the time when I knew it wasn't really my passion, and Emin knew it wasn't really my passion, and he was kind of pointing that out to me, but I was just ignoring him and getting mad at him, honestly. Because like, I was scared. Like, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't think there were other options. So I was just kind of forcing myself to do YouTube all the time. And when he left and I was alone, I was still making YouTube videos, but like, I wasn't happy. So I needed to make a serious change, and I needed to like I said before, discover myself and become an actual functioning adult by myself, because I was not about to be unhappy and miserable for months on end. So I was like, okay, time to kick it into high gear. What can I do? What can I do to find myself, to discover myself, to feel better about myself? And I thought I should get a job. You should get a fucking job. You guys know Emin's song? Anyway, it was a very radical idea. And I was really scared to do it because, again, I was relying so heavily on YouTube, and I was like convincing myself that that was my thing and that was what I was going to do like forever, if that makes sense. I don't know, for a long ass time. I thought that I could make it work, and maybe it's like I wasn't working hard enough, or I wasn't doing something right, or I wasn't making enough videos or something like that. And if I just made some adjustment, then I would be happy and then I would feel fulfilled making videos all the time. But it just wasn't the case. Like, I'm sure there's some people like Casey Neistat, for example, if he was locked in his house and had to make a video every single day, he would be happy doing it. Like, that's his thing. You know, he's like a filmmaker. Like, he wants to make videos. But for me, the more I made it, especially when I was alone, the more unhappy I was. So I was like, I'm going to get a job. Like, just something chill, something that's going to cover my bills, so I can stop doing YouTube, and then I'll continue doing social media and I'll continue doing YouTube sometimes. But like, I just want to see what this is like. And guys, I applied for a job. It was the first job that I saw that I knew would work. Like, I knew this was the one, and I ended up getting it. Basically, the job was a social media person at a nonprofit organization, because my thought was, I need to do something meaningful to kind of feel better again. And so when I saw that this was a job at a nonprofit, it's an animal sanctuary, I was like, oh my God, like, that's it. Like, that's the one. It's in social media. It makes enough money for me to stop doing YouTube. And it's something I care about. Like rescuing animals, that's amazing. It's an amazing cause. And when I got hired and I really learned about the animals and the organization and what I do on a daily basis, and like, I don't know if you guys know this, I've talked about it very briefly, but like I get to just make videos of horses all day long and cows and pigs, and like it's really the best job in the world. It's the best job ever. And I'm so unbelievably lucky to do it. And the absolute juxtaposition of me doing YouTube before and then me switching to doing this job full time is just like, oh my God, it's such a difference. And I'm so much happier now. And it's funny because most people, they don't want a 9-to-5 job. They don't want to work all day long. They want to be their own boss. Maybe not most people, but at least the way I was raised, I was kind of told that that's the best way to do it. And that's how everybody should be. Because like, that's how my dad is, for example. But I'm like the opposite. I love having a 9-to-5. I love the structure. I love having a weekend. I love when it's Friday night and you're like, oh my God, I'm done for the week. Like I never had that my entire life. Like, especially when I went on my own and I was doing my own YouTube channel, I was posting on Saturdays. So oftentimes I was editing on Saturdays or Fridays or Sundays or all three. Like there was not like a full day off necessarily. Or if there was a full day off, it was because I was being lazy and procrastinating. And then I just felt like shit the whole day because I was like, oh, I could be doing something else. You know, like with a typical job with a 9-to-5, like the one I'm doing right now, it's like when I'm done, I can shut it off and I don't have to think about my work for the weekend or from 5:30 p.m. and on and until 9 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like it's just a difference and it's so nice. And I feel like some of you guys relate to me, like listening to me right now, you probably feel that way. Some people probably hate their job, but I feel like some people listening are like, hell yeah, I love my 9-to-5. And then I love the 5 to 9 after my 9-to-5, which I see on TikTok all the time. And I kind of want to make a video about that. But like that routine that you have when you're done with work and it's nighttime, and especially when it's the weekend and like, I don't know, I'm just really happy and it's really great. And I feel like the combination of getting a job and then moving to LA and making friends here, because I've made a lot of friends here, has just made me realize who I was as a person. I feel like, to go back to what I was saying in the beginning, my entire life, I was just figuring out who I was and I was questioning myself. And I had this identity that was so unstable and rooted in things that were not even myself. It was just rooted in other people and other things. But now, like when everything got stripped away, when Emin left and I got this job and I was forced to kind of just be alone, I lived alone for months and I'm going to go back to living alone when Emin goes back on tour. I learned, I don't want to say I learned who I was because it wasn't a conscious thing. I just feel happy now. Like I don't feel nearly as stressed and overwhelmed and confused and like, I don't know, floating in the universe like I did before. Obviously, there's still problems, you know, like obviously sometimes it gets overwhelming doing my 9-to-5 job and doing social media because that's a lot, you know, because I still do TikTok and Instagram and make this podcast sometimes. And like I do that on the side still, which is awesome and amazing. And I'm so lucky to do both. But like it can get a little overwhelming sometimes. But honestly, like I feel so lucky to do it. And I feel lucky to be overwhelmed by it. You know what I mean? So yeah, sometimes you think you have life figured out. And you think you know like your identity and your comfort and who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. But then those things can get stripped away from us. Like sometimes you lose your job. Sometimes, you know, somebody dies. Sometimes, you know, your partner breaks up with you. Something crazy happens that's unexpected that you never wanted to happen, that you never planned to happen. You know, I never thought that my life would be what it is right now. I never thought I would be where I am physically. I never thought I would live in LA with my freaking husband at the age of 22. You know what I mean? Like I never thought those things would happen. But all the unexpected things that were mildly traumatizing, but ended up being worth it in the end, they really made me who I am. And I feel like, to add on to me like figuring out who I am, I feel like I'm so much more confident now because I've been through so much shit in the past 3 years and I've had so many issues that I never thought I would have to deal with and dealt with so many people that I thought I would have to deal with or fight with. You know what I mean? You do things that you never thought you'd have to do and you survive and you win these battles that you never thought you would have to fight. I'm loving these metaphors. And then you feel stronger. You feel better. You feel happy. You feel like you can do anything. You know what I mean? So even when I get overwhelmed and even when things get hard nowadays in life, I'm just kind of, for the most part, like, I feel like I can do it. I feel like I can do anything because I've been through so much. And my life was so weird for so long. And I changed so many times. And like for the first time in forever, I feel stable and I feel normal. So after hearing my whole story, the whole point is that I wouldn't be who I was without all those awful things, and I'm very happy and very lucky. That's kind of where I'm at. And I appreciate you guys listening to my life story. And I'm going to close that book for now. And I'm going to stop talking about my life story. And I'm going to move on to a new subject for the next episode. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you all. I love you guys. And I will see you or talk to you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye.